Look, you have to argue through any political reckoning on this. It looks bad. Where's the presumption of innocence? This isn't a trial. This isn't a trial, okay? In light of these facts, the burden is on Bill Barr and the people who did this to tell us how the New York Times and CNN and common sense has this wrong. So let's pick this up with two more valuable minds. One of them knows exactly what it's like to be publicly targeted by Trump. Former FBI agent Peter Strzok, who once worked on the Russia investigation, and a former acting AG. How does he think the DOJ's Inspector General should be going on about this? And what do these two guys think about what they just heard from former AG Mukasey? Next. Here to respond to the Trump DOJ alleged abuse of power and what we heard from former AG Mike Mukasey is former acting U.S. Attorney General Stuart Gerson, as well as Peter Strzok, former FBI chief of counterespionage and author of Compromised, Counterintelligence and the Threat of Donald J. Trump. Gentlemen, thank you. First, let's get our bearings here. I'll start with you, Mr. Gerson. Have you ever seen anything like what is being reported?
No, I haven't, except as was said in the earlier segment, there's a lot here that, at least in hindsight, you can say echoes the enemies list of the 1970s.
And Peter, the idea that, well, look, they went to a grand jury to get the subpoena, so obviously they had plenty of proof for this. So it's all on the level.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that, Chris. I mean, clearly I agree with Attorney General Mukasey to the extent that there are leaks of information that the government needs to investigate and, if appropriate, prosecute. But the scope of this activity, the breadth of all the various individuals that were subpoenaed, I've never seen anything like it in my 20 years in the FBI.
And also a key aspect, the corollary to Pete's point, Stuart, is that they found nothing and yet kept going to the point where they had people who were, junior to where Peter was, but where they were coming to people and saying, we're not finding anything here. We don't know why we're doing this.
Well, Chris, that's to me, the key point in this. You can start an investigation with little, if any, proof. The issuance of a grand jury subpoena is a formality. You quoted Edward Bennett Williams' famous remark about indicting a ham sandwich. This is much less than that. I mean, the subpoenas are really at the behest of the United States Attorney or whomever is in the grand jury. But what the key fact is here, as far as I'm concerned, is that this proved early on to be a dry hole. The investigation, however many there were, the ones related to Swalwell and Schiff and others on the committee were in that package. They were held to be languishing, and the Attorney General then said, let's amp this up and move these on. And it was an outsider who was charged with doing it. He came by virtue of an endorsement from the United States Attorney in New Jersey, who was the guy who the Attorney General wanted to shift over to the Southern District of New York to oust an incumbent who was feared to be investigating things that related to the president. So, it's indicative of the fact that Mr. Barr worked with a staff close to himself. We'll find out more from the Inspector General about what career people might have done. But I think you'll find that there were senior career people who might have advised helpfully in cases like this who were never contacted at all.
Well, that's an interesting point. So the people being kept out of the circle, in addition to people who were in the circle on the workman level, saying that they had misgivings. Peter, another point that Mike Mukasey made, and again, I got a lot of respect for the former AG. And he says, well, Bill Barr only wanted to go after leak investigations in general, so he may not recall these specific ones. I just believe that knowing Barr, if he had a good explanation for what was going on, he would offer it. And the only time he's gone to this I don't recall device was in political sticky situations where he wanted to separate himself, like whether or not Trump ever asked him to investigate, and he used it one other time, I think. Wouldn't he do better than he's doing on I don't recall?
Chris, I don't recall as the refuge of a man who doesn't want to tell the truth. Look, let's think about this. One federal judge has already found in writing that Bill Barr lacked candor. A second federal judge described his interactions in the Department of Justice with regard to the Mueller report memos as being disingenuous. That's our baseline. And then let's think about Bill Barr, who personally, as the Attorney General, got on a plane with John Durham and flew all over the world pursuing these tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theories about the deep state. Given that level of interest, given that background about his level of credibility, there is no doubt in my mind that Attorney General Barr was absolutely well aware of what was going on. It doesn't matter that these were authorized in advance of his tenure as the Attorney General. The fact of the matter is he arrived on scene, and like so much else, the investigation of Mike Flynn was not languishing. He selected somebody who was put in there, turned that upside down in one of the gravest miscarriages of justice that I've ever seen. The sentencing of Roger Stone was not languishing. He put in a handpicked person to turn that upside down and reduce that sentence. That is Attorney General Barr's MO. He picks people who can come in, place undue political pressure to achieve the results that he and then President Trump wanted to achieve.
Gentlemen, thank you for your perspective on this. Appreciate it. We'll have more to discuss as we get into the interior parts of how this was done and why it was. And